Good to go.
Hey kids, welcome to Just a Game. I am Just a Game. Thanks for, well, that's the old Kevin Pollak chat show. If you're a podcast aficionado, you'll get that reference. Welcome. It is show number 3 here on the Nation Network. I am Rob Kerr. So glad you could spend a little time with us. Very excited. Somebody wrote in and said, you know what the show needs? More eye candy. Needs more eye candy. So we went out and recruited eye candy. Hockey legend Perry Berezan is with us here, former Flame, San Jose Shark, Minnesota North Star, at the professional level, St. Albert. You were drafted out of St. Albert, were you not?
I was a St. Albert Saint.
You were drafted
NHL draft pick.
Right. And then went to North Dakota.
Then went to North Dakota.
Correct. Third round pick by the Flames.
Yes.
Right?
Actually.
Big bonus at the third
round pick, but second pick. Because they didn't have a second round pick.
Oh,
it makes me feel better.
So if we were having that conversation, you're really like a second round pick.
Kinda.
And actually, you're darn near a first round pick now.
That's
right?
True.
Like at 55.
There were fewer teams for that.
Yeah. You're almost a first round
pick.
Very close to being a first round pick. Of course, a huge part of the Flames alumni and the man who has scored the single biggest goal in the history of the Calgary Flames. We might even get into that in a little while.
Sure.
On this program. Also on this program, scheduled to talk to Hall of Famer. And from The Athletic, Eric Duhatschek.
Love Eric.
When's the last time you talked to Eric? When's the last time you would have bumped into Eric?
I think we do this Palumbo's lunch probably once a year.
Yeah.
And it would have been last year sometime.
Okay.
But any time with Eric is always good time.
It is. He's going to be a regular contributor here with us, but because it's our first week, it's our first visit. Did you or did you not get a chance to see the, what do they call it? The NHL 99, a project ranking the greatest players in modern NHL history. It ran for a couple of months on The Athletic.
I did, and I heard about it. In fact, we were a bunch of the alumni guys together. Right. Joel Otto brought it up and said, are you guys following this? I'm captivated.
Yeah.
Like, this is such good conversation to figure out whether someone from, they're all modern, supposed to be modern players, considerably modern.
Yeah.
But the conversations are endless with this list. So Eric being a part of it, of course, brings it a ton of credibility to the process, because I know he's all about that. And boy, I think lots of people have spent hours talking about this list.
They have. Tan Man, can I get a little more of my own volume in my headset, please? I'm screaming to hear. There we go. That's better. Thank you. Maybe just a down. No, oh boy, now I'm a diva. Show number 3 and I'm a diva. Anyway, yeah, it's much better. The thing that jumped out at me about that whole series was how desperately I miss Sunday papers. How I miss a big, thick Sunday paper that would have that type of writing in it, that would have those types of features in it. And, for such a huge part of our lives, those Sunday papers, it was always so much fun to travel on a Sunday, because you could get like the big, thick New York Times or the Chicago Sun or whatever. And it was always full of, big, long form articles.
I couldn't wait for the hockey news to come out.
Right.
I mean, just having the hard copy of the hockey news, even though by the time I got it, the news was old.
Right.
But all news pretty much was old at way back when. I can remember when my dad first started bringing it home.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, I like reading this. I didn't like reading the Edmonton Journal growing up by any means, but I can read this.
Yeah.
And seeing that list and thinking about where each player was ranked, it really makes you think. And it certainly made me think, because I'm quite frankly not I can remember the guys I played against and go, okay, he was good at that. He was good at that. He did this. And the guys now, you watch on a different level. You watch from TV or highlights and go, I don't know. You have to ask a coach how good they are, where they're good, where they need help and where they don't.
Yeah.
But to say all-time best, that brings in a lot of stuff. And it was pretty cool.
Yeah, but you played you played against the two players in particular that usually end up in the conversation about number one. It's always Wayne Gretzky, and then it's always Mario Lemieux with the caveat that if he had stayed healthy. There are those...
And tried harder.
I'm sorry, what now?
Yeah. I get... To me, there are two things here. And we'll start with Lemieux right away. Mario, I've heard from teammates, Mario's not going to say it. I mean, and maybe he will admit to it.
Right.
But he was so good and so much better than everybody else that he looked like a guy who was bored. When I was told, when I was in Minnesota right away, I remember Pierre Pagé, when I first got there, he was the coach. He goes, "You're going to follow Mario around the whole game."
Yep.
Except, shorthanded situation. You're going to follow him around the whole game. And I can remember after the first shift, Mario looking at me and going, "Seriously?" And he said that.
Yeah, I know. I know.
I didn't say anything. He goes, "Come on." I said, "Just doing my job." Like, I just want to keep a job.
Yep.
And he just looked, at that point, he was like, "You're sucking the fun out of this." If I had any fun doing it. He looked like a guy who wasn't having fun.
Right.
Okay. To that, I know he was going through back issues. So when you're in pain, it's not fun to do anything.
Yep.
So, but he just didn't have that motivation to be the best player on the ice because he knew he could go half speed and be the best player on the ice.
Okay.
That's my point.
Yeah.
Where Gretzky was a different animal. Every shift. I never remember Gretzky disinterested or having that feeling. He was constantly keen. But at the end of the day, with both players and Mario being disinterested and Gretzky being dialed in, both got 4 points. So it didn't matter.
Yep.
So who was the better player at the time? They both were darn good, and the statistics prove it. But I could say with confidence that Mario didn't try that hard and still was super effective because he would wait when I would follow him around. It was boring for me because he wasn't trying very hard, and he just kind of hung around, and then he'd pretend to go off on a change, and I'd change, and then he'd go back out, and then try and have some fun. But those two guys, yes, I got to play a lot of minutes against.
92 finals? You played against Pittsburgh? Minnesota,
yes,
Pittsburgh, right?
Yes. Is that the year? No.
91?
91.
91, okay. Yeah. And did you, because there's the famous goal from that series, right?
That was the game I played in the finals. Yes, the Mario Lemieux splitting the D that's on Hockey Night in Canada intro all the time.
Yeah.
If anyone wants to go on YouTube and search it, you got to go back a few seconds to what happened early. And I end up getting a shot on net. Brasso makes the save, kicks it out. Mario swings around, picks it up and takes it. I actually got the assist on that goal.
Wow.
Oh, sure. There you go. I'm going to give myself an assist.
Not only have you scored the biggest goal in Flames history, you have an assist on the biggest Pittsburgh. Yeah. That's incredible.
Put that on my resume right now.
Absolutely.
I mean, it was kind of kicked away from Brasso.
Right.
He made a great save. I mean, I had a good chance there to score. The other side of it is, you dumbass Perry, if you'd have scored, Mario wouldn't have got that history.
There is something to that.
Yeah. But yes,
is that John Casey or Blue? Who's the goalie?
John Casey.
John Casey.
Actually, and I think a story from that game, which a lot of people don't, they won't realize. So we had won game one against Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh. And we were the last team to get into the playoffs. On the last game of the season, we got enough points to squeak in.
Yeah.
And then we beat Chicago, who were President's Cup leaders. We ended up beating the Oilers.
Who were the Stanley Cup champions the year before, right?
We were on a roll.
Yeah.
And the team was definitely on a roll. We shouldn't have been, but anyway. So we get to the finals and win game one. And our owner, Norm Green, apparently was talking about what day they would have the parade.
That's correct, yeah.
And Rob, you're a reporter. You think that's going to be in the papers the next day. So I'm walking into the Igloo at the time in Pittsburgh, and Larry Murphy, who was traded from the North Stars to the Pittsburgh Penguins earlier that year.
Yep.
So I knew him. I see him in the hallway. He goes, "Perry, you guys are effed." I'm like,
Well, you're allowed to swear on this if you want.
Yeah, I can do it.
Okay.
And I said, what do you mean? Because I didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, you haven't seen the papers? I'm like, as if I'd see a paper. I'm in the hotel. I go to the rink.
Yeah.
And he goes, it's plastered on our board. You just woke up the sleeping bear. I'm like, what? He goes, Mario is pissed. I haven't seen this fire in his eyes in a long time.
Right.
You guys are fucked. And I went, oh God. He goes, see ya. And that's the game that he and seriously, he could coast through games, still be very effective. But you, as a player, you could see the guy his heart wasn't in it. It just was weird.
Wait, is it true? Was he smoking darts at intermission?
Mario, I don't know. Man, that's
a wives' tale, I believe, that he was.
I mean, he might have been, but when he was into it, it was insane. That goal is why didn't we see that goal on many of his highlights? Because he liked. Yeah. The game almost seemed just too easy for him, and all the points he was getting. Like, what was really motivating him or pushing him? So when that article came out about us planning the parade, I think then it was like, okay, I'm this close to winning a cup. I'm not going to lose it to these guys,
right?
And that would be those misfit guys from Minnesota that somehow found their way to the final.
And that's as close as the North Stars.
Yes.
And really the Wild have ever come to a Stanley Cup.
They were in the finals.
That's right.
In the early 80s, 81 or something.
Yeah, but
this would have been
most recently.
Yeah. And literally when we beat Pittsburgh that first game, tons of confidence. But John Casey was broken after that.
He was, eh?
He was holding this house of cards together. It kind of felt like that. Bob Gainey was holding the house of cards together. And after that, Casey just didn't have it anymore. Yeah. In fact, I think we put Brian Hayward in at one point, our backup.
In fact, I think we did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's where it got to. Let Hayward do it. He's got a good career in TV coming up. But
Hazy wanted to. I mean, I got to play with Hazy in San Jose after that.
That's right.
But, Mario was the kind of guy that he decided he wanted to play. I could say he was better than anybody.
So is Norm Green then responsible for the planning the parade route lines and they're planning the parade? Is that where that must be where it came from?
That's where it came from. That's where the quote came from.
No, but you know how we use that now. Oh, they're planning the parade route, and
sure. And I guess it actually happened. Sometimes they make this crap up. So
it's the first time hearing of it,
and it happened. So that was the end of it for us.
He is hockey legend Perry Berezan joining us here today in the Oodle Noodles studio. Do you love noodles? Are you a big fan of noodles?
Oh, let's bring them.
I'm pro-noodle.
Pro-noodle?
I'm very pro-noodle. Local, loved, and delicious. Since opening their first store back in 2005, Oodle Noodle has been all flavor and just the right amount of weird. Does that not seem appropriate?
It's very good. For us too?
Absolutely. 2 locations, 1244 17th Avenue Southwest, or if you're in Airdrie, 105 Main Street North, pickup and delivery. I'm Rob Kerr. I keep thinking it's radio. I got to reset everything. I guess I don't. If you know who I am because you logged onto the podcast.
Yeah. It's a different pace, isn't it?
Oh, I'm digging it.
Yeah.
I'm digging it. Like it's just every once in a while you go, am I not supposed to do something, or are we supposed to? I'm like, because I can't see Tyler. I'm always worried about the producer. Like, you're take a break. They're throwing the hands or whatever. I don't need to do none of that.
So how many? When is it you and I first started working together on the radio?
Let's talk about that. Because you know the history of this title, Just a Game.
Yep.
That's my show from Edmonton.
Yeah, John Short.
Right. That's the first time. So the first time you and I ever started doing it, you were a guest on my show in Edmonton, right? Just a Game. So
what year would that have been?
2002.
Wow.
2002, end of 2001, 2002, and then a little bit of 2003, but like 18 months.
And then what year did you, I need to remember this. What year did you come in and do the play-by-play for 3-on-3 pond hockey when we had the big alumni.
That would have been 2002. So we came down at the Corral.
That was game-breaking, epic stuff. You have to explain what you did.
So we talked about this a little bit. Why this was coming home for me was not only because of the name of the show, but because the Nation Network and Flames Nation and all of this is an internet, a media streaming. I guess you don't call it the internet. Old people call it the internet, but it's streaming, right? It's non-traditional broadcast, not over the air. And that's what we were doing back in 2001. We were streaming sports, AJHL games, ACAC hockey games, high school football, sprint car racing, you name it, we were trying it. And you knew John from growing up and the Battle of Alberta, and he made a connection. And you and Colin at that time were running the SO 3-on-3 pond hockey tournament out of the Corral. And I think we came down and saw you because we met you at the Oval.
Yeah.
And we had a conversation, and it's like, well, we can broadcast these games. And you're like, what do you mean you can broadcast these games? Well, people can get a little thing called Real Player, and they can listen to it. And it's funny because how many laptops are in this room right now? Like 7 laptops. Well, in 2002, we took a full-size monitor and a full-size tower and a keyboard, and we set it up in the penalty box in the Corral, and then we ran our audio equipment into it, and we streamed the SO 3-on-3 tournament, and it was so much fun. Tiger Williams would come, and for John in particular, John Short, and those in Calgary might not know John, but think of Russ Peake or Billy Powers, and here he was that in Edmonton. Yep. So he knew all of these guys and knew of all these guys. So it was really exciting for him. And, I was kind of making sure we were staying on the air and doing the play-by-play, but that was also the first time I'd ever seen the format of 3-on-3. And I, to this day, contend that the National Hockey League borrowed it from you guys. They watched and watched and watched, and that's how we ended up with 3-on-3 in the All-Star game. I'm not saying 3-on-3 in overtime. I'm saying 3-on-3 in the All-Star game.
Well, and the NHL came in. They actually sponsored the event. 56 former NHLers coming together to play this mini 3-on-3 tournament.
Right.
They actually had their staff come in and observe for 2 years.
Right.
As we were telling them, you need to use this for your All-Star game. Yep. And after it took them a while to finally do it, and I could see why. Sure. But to have you guys broadcast it at the time, I think Patter and I both right away went, this Rob Kerr guy he's something else. Like, he is different because nobody has the energy or enthusiasm for the game and broadcasting like you do. And then you ended up doing the Max Midget. Yeah. How many games would you have done for the Max?
We did. What was that? That was the 2001. I think it was 2000. So 2000 into 2001, right?
Yeah.
And we were at Father David Bauer, and then we ended up at the Saddle Dome. We did 7 days straight, 6 games a day or something like that. And
it's insane.
It is, and it's terrible too because we just had rosters and we had no information. We were just talking. But I think of groups like this or HN Live or all these groups now that are doing it. We were just, and I don't say this patting myself on the back, it is actually true. We were just too far ahead.
Yeah.
We were just too far ahead.
Yeah.
The people hadn't caught up. People weren't, more people are doing this now than listening to radios, right? That's just how we've migrated. We've had that kind of uptake and everything. Back then it was, you didn't have the phones. The phones weren't part of the deal. There weren't tablets and things like that. You had to sit down in front of your computer. You had to launch an audio player, and then you sat there, right? And that's what you did to listen.
And you watched that little circle spinning.
The little circle spinning, absolutely. And the first coding I ever did, the first part, any kind of coding I did, was I learned how to put up ads in the Real Player screen. Oh. So every 30 seconds, a new graphic would come up and stuff like that. And, I'm watching Tyler here all week long. He's just been a stud doing all this stuff, like getting this stuff up. And I'm like typing away with my 2 fingers. And look, Growers Direct popped up. And now SO popped up and stuff. So we've come a long way. But But it's really coming home too, right? Because now I feel like, okay, now we're here at the right time.
Yeah.
This is the future. Yeah. Like this is where we're going.
It's great to be on the other side of the microphone with you again, because we had
we've
lots of fun.
So much, and we've gotten into a lot of trouble. Quite honest, we've gotten into lots of trouble.
Don't remember
that. Lots of trouble. Although the one that, God bless his soul, and he's gone with us now. But I thought I lost my job in 2000. When did 2015 or whatever? When did Cooner become the president of the alumni?
Oh, I don't know.
Because you guys came on, you and Patter and Cooner came on, and we were in the hot stove lounge, right? And it was right in the middle of the arena debate. And
I think it was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Right? And the library, because we were talking about the library, they were funding the library, but they weren't funding the arena. And, you guys came on and said, can we talk about this? So you guys were talking about it, and you guys were being really respectful. But it felt like Nenshi and Ken and, they were butting heads, and Cooner was saying stuff, or Jamie McCown. I shouldn't assume everybody knows who Cooner is.
Yeah.
The president of the alumni, by the way. Perry and Colin were, and you're all taking turns, and you went on for about 20 minutes about, why we should have an arena. I'm getting madder, and I'm getting madder, and I'm getting madder. And finally somebody stops, and I just blurted out, why don't those two just get in a room, whip them out, and measure them? Because clearly that's what this is. And the minute I said that,
you knew you were in trouble.
I knew I was in trouble. And I oh my God, I can't believe I just said this on the air. And I said, oh boy, okay, we better take a break. And I took a break, and I'm like, well, first of all, this is the last show I said that to you guys. This is the last show I'm ever going to do. And I'm waiting for the phone to ring. And finally, trying to remember the producer. Anyway, he said, Rob, are you there? And I said, yeah, I'm here. What's wrong? He goes, you guys have been off the air for 10 minutes. I said it. Nobody heard it.
Oh, they cut you off.
Remember, we were off the air.
Yeah.
No, they didn't cut me off. They lost us. And that never happened from the Hot Stove Lounge.
I didn't know.
The Hot Stove Lounge never drops. It never drops. And it dropped that day. They're yelling at us. We're not listening. And I go and make this really dumb comment about the president of the Calgary Flames and the mayor of Calgary. And it's really vulgar, and I should be ashamed of myself. And until this moment, nobody knew. And you guys laughed. Oh, you guys laughed. You thought it was the funniest thing.
I'd forgotten that everything shut off. Well, there are times where I can remember being the hockey analyst in the 90s, where the Flames team was on the brink, that nobody seemed to even care. Mm-hmm. There was a point where we were on, and I said something, and I think it was Jock Wilson who was hosting at the time. He came back and just said, he goes, don't worry about it, Perry. No one's listening anyway.
Right.
So then it was on.
Right.
And he could say it. At least you were lucky enough that you were off.
Right.
But you can now on this show, you can say whatever you want, right?
Yeah. Well, no, I can't actually, because one of my superhero players lectured me the first time I came on the Barn Burner back in November. You could swear. It was like Howard Stern here, so I was dropping F-bombs and all that. And Ty was so disappointed in me. He said, I listened to the podcast, so why did you swear? So my little deal with Ty is that I'm not going to swear on this podcast.
All right.
Yeah. Anybody else? That's
okay.
Just the deal that Ty and I have. Eric DeHatchett coming up is everything good? Everything's good? Okay, everything's good. I don't know. Just every once in a while I want to check. By the way, this segment brought to you by you, your business, organization, or event. We will work with you to make sure we get your message out, the ever-growing audience of the Nation Network. So if you want more information on how you can sponsor this program or other programs at Flames Nation or on the Nation Network, go to my website, robkerr.ca/sponsorship. Last night, the local hockey heroes fell in Las Vegas, 4-3 in overtime after taking a 3-1 lead into the third period. I'm no wizard. I'm certainly not good at math. 9 shots in the final 40 minutes, 1 shot in the third period.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Did you watch the game?
I saw the end.
Yeah.
So
That's
I
all you
saw
needed
the
to
second.
see.
I saw the second half.
Yeah, that's all you really
Yeah.
needed to see. Tough, yet to win in Vegas in the history of the Golden Knights, which isn't the same as yet to beat the San Jose Sharks in the history of the San Jose Sharks when they started.
This group,
Yeah,
with all these third period collapses and losing by 1 goal or just not getting close enough, it's very weird to see, because there's a veteran group, very talented. It's a talented group. I mean, I'm one guy who looks at it and says, on paper, this is great.
right.
But this still, in sports, professional sports or amateur sports, doesn't matter. There's a level of confidence and motivation and energy all combined that either provides you that boost to come back from a 1 or 2 goal lead, or is haunting you every minute that goes by, going, when is this going to collapse? And that voice is in your head, and it's either the pumping you. I can remember just being on teams. I can remember being on that Flames team, the Flames teams during 85, 6, 7, 8, all of them, where we were a good team. And I remember the one, I guess it would have been 87 or 88, Mike Bullard on the power play, knew he was on the power play, McKenna, Suter at the point, these guys. Like, we'd be down 2 or 3 goals, and there's just feeling of a power play, and we'll get one back, and we'll get another. No panic, total confidence, and it doesn't weigh on you. And sure enough, you end up finding ways always to come back, or at least making it really, really close where you feel good about the effort, and then lost at the end. Well, as a fan, and I'm sure as a player too, that sick feeling in their stomach the closer they get down to the end of 60 minutes. It's fear when they're up by 1 or 2 goals, because the fear is, oh God, let's hang in there. They look like they're just trying to hang in there, as opposed to let's dominate and let's hold the puck. Last year's team was that way. Last year's team was so confident with a 1 or 2 goal lead. Or even confident when they were down by 1 or 2 goals. It was and so people go, well, it's coaching. It's this. It's weird. It's a whole bunch of chemistry that happens that either makes it a very comfortable feeling or a very awful feeling. This team can't shake it. It's a shame. The whole idea of, well, once they get over that. What if they don't? And it looks like they haven't.
And I was going to ask you that, because, the analogy that I used last night on the Afterburner with Dean, and I used it on the program on Wednesday, was I'm selling St. Louis 2018 or 19, whatever that team was, the one that won the Stanley Cup, was dead last in the NHL in January, won the Cup. Guys, it can be done. You have to believe that, right? And there is nothing that I see from the outside that leads me to believe that this team believes anything right now. Having said that, their structure's there for the most part.
There's lots of stuff,
right? They funnel pucks to the net. They can move through the neutral zone sometimes. Well, they do tend to be soft, not soft, but you get punched in the nose and they tend to wander a little bit, right? I think they at times are motivated. I just don't think this team's been inspired this year. I don't remember seeing them playing inspired hockey.
Good word.
Right?
Yeah, because we try and get, as fans, a feeling of what that attitude or the feeling is in the locker room and on the bench. We try and get it, because we only have the TV to draw it from. Or if you're going to the games, you're trying to get a feeling on the ice. It's so hard. And I look, when they pan that bench, I can't think of any times this year when they pan the bench that any of those guys look like they're enjoying any part of that.
No.
Even if they're up by a couple goals, they don't seem to be enjoying it. And yes, it's easy to say, well, then the coach should let them have more fun. Well, yeah, and then you let them have too much fun. They're enjoying themselves too much, and now they don't care. Like, there's the pros, the professionals know how hard they're supposed to work, and when to turn on, when not to. But this group looks like they're all carrying pianos on their backs, And even when they get the 2-goal lead, there's just not a look of confidence or a feeling of, God, that was fun. Peltier showing it. I mean, he's the guy.
He was their best forward last night.
He was so good.
Yeah.
He actually has that Johnny Gaudreau, I'm ready.
Enthusiasm.
Let's go.
Yeah,
Let's go. The rest of that team, they're good veteran players with good contracts that are settled in, that are going, I'm not enjoying this.
Yep.
And it's sad that that's happening.
It's the wrong coach for that to happen with too.
Oh, because Daryl doesn't make when you need to win so that you can at least enjoy something.
Right. Right.
And because Daryl doesn't make any of it any fun. But as players, they gotta find something. You can't all just be mopey guys because they're not all made up that way. I think having Peltier there at least,
that youthful enthusiasm, right?
Might rub off.
Right. And I know you get asked about it's kind of like not exactly the same, but every time there's an undefeated team in the NFL, they've got to go out and find the Miami Dolphins, like the last undefeated team. But in '86, your team lost 10 in a row.
11
in a row. Pardon me.
Yeah.
Right. They lost 11 in a row.
The mantra was, after losing 2, good teams don't lose 3 in a row.
Yeah.
Good teams don't lose 4 in a row.
Yeah.
We lost again.
Yeah.
5 in a row, 6 in a row. We kept saying it in the room. And we actually felt decent about ourselves. Cliff Fletcher, our GM, would come into the locker room during that streak after games just to walk through and go, it's okay, guys. We're going to get them. It's okay. And Badger would be, we outshot that group. That, not bad. Not bad. And then the 11th game that we lost by a lot. I can't remember to who, but
I thought it was Hartford. Does that seem
might
right?
have been. I thought, though, we beat Hartford to.
Or is that Hartford? Maybe was it Quebec?
Might have been Quebec that we lost. I'd have to look at that.
Yeah.
But it was a bad loss. Okay. And Badger Bob came into the locker room after the 11th loss. He came in, and this is Mr. Positive. This is a guy who could he'd be in the middle of a nuclear war going, isn't that a pretty sky? He's that guy.
Yep.
So he came into the locker room, and he was searching for something to say, and he was, I got nothing to say. And he walked out because he knew at that point there really was nothing. And then, yes, we broke the streak. We won in overtime in the 12th game. I believe it was against Hartford. I believe Jim Poplinski scored the overtime goal. And I was playing with Jim and Otts, and Pep got the overtime goal. And then we went on to start winning. And then Cliff pulled the trigger on a trade.
Right.
That brought Joey Mullen in.
Right.
And boy, we started on a roll. So yes, things can turn, but it just takes, all the stars have to align.
So the other part of '86 was a smallish goalie who's celebrating a birthday today.
Michael Vernon.
Right.
Happy birthday.
He came in and never looked back. Was not his first call up, though.
No, but Reggie Lemelin had the net.
Yeah.
And
to start the year, right?
Yeah, and he was kind of our guy. And he was the wily old veteran. And Vernie was down in the minors, and I guess they just wanted to wait for the right time. And I guess after the 11-game losing streak, it was the right time. So I think Reggie was going through some injury issues too. And Vernie just absolutely took control of that.
Yeah. And the only reason I bring it up, Perry, is that, right now, it seems like it's Dan Vladar's net. Markstrom's coming off a year in which he was the Vezina, trophy candidate. He's not playing anywhere near that. And Dustin Wolf is winning and setting records and doing everything. And the team's here now, so he's right under everybody's nose, right? And I hadn't given it any thought, but you're starting to hear people and wondering if, maybe Wolfie should get a shot, right? It seems like a lot of pressure to put on a kid. Not sure how you do it.
Isn't that what a goalie needs, though? If you're going to test him, how old is he? You say he's a kid.
He's 23 or so.
Okay, he's not a kid. To me, your goaltender.
He's a third-year pro.
And you're 23.
Yeah.
You want all the pressure.
He's a second-year pro.
Bring on the pressure.
Yeah.
Those guys want it. Come on. I want the most amount of cameras and people playing me against the best players. Those guys really want it. However, if you're the general manager going, I don't want to break the guy because we have something special here. So you want to make sure you do it at the right time.
Right.
I see both sides there.
Okay.
But it's interesting because we brought up the Minnesota thing before in the run we had. We had the run because of John Casey in 2004. Kiprusoff was everything.
I said that to Boom last night. Maybe we're not having the right conversation about Kiprusoff. Maybe we should be having a Hall of Fame conversation with Kiprusoff because for 7 years he was so
dominant
that you stopped thinking about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You just stopped thinking about it. Now, I know it doesn't work that way. Had he won in 04, as he should have because it was in, and he won a Vezina, I'm not 100% sure that we wouldn't have more of a robust conversation. But the guy who's celebrating his birthday, 2 cups, plus Conn Smythes, he's not in.
He's got a resume.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So a lot about 86. Do we have that? Do we have that, Phil? Yeah. You and I have talked about this goal on many, many occasions. We have never watched it and walked through it. And now we have that ability.
I like that.
I refer to you as hockey legend Perry Berezan because you scored the biggest goal in Calgary Flames history. And it is memorable because it is an end-to-end rush that involved you beating all 8 Oilers on the ice and then going upstairs. Let's roll the video here. Maybe you can walk us through.
There by Tonelli to Berezan. Berezan in across the line. McDonald going for the net. Berezan's pass does not get through. He tries again. It hits McDonald. McDonald was upset by Steve Smith, and Gretzky comes back. Gretzky with Krushelnyski. Over to Napier. Napier with the shot. Vernon out of the net to make the save. Vernon came out to challenge that time, as Grant Fuhrer did in the second period on Steve Bozak. Oh, they score! Oh, Steve Smith, in attempting to get it out of his own zone, put it in the net. At the side of the net, he was trying to pass it out, and it hit Grant Fuhrer, I believe, and went in.
Well, everybody's in a state of shock right now, and the Calgary bench, they couldn't believe it. Now, there's the puck stopped by Grant Fuhrer. Watch Smith. He comes out right in front of his net and tries to pass it through the middle. It hit Grant Fuhrer and goes in. Now, for a defenseman, there's so many safe plays you can make along the boards, carry it out, but not through the middle, off the left, back of the leg of Grant Fuhrer, and in the net. And McDonald gets credited for the goal.
There by Tonelli to Berezan. Berezan in across the line. McDonald going for the net. Berezan's pass does not get through. He tries again. It hits McDonald. McDonald was upset by Steve Smith, and Gretzky comes back. Gretzky with Krushelnyski. Over to Napier. Napier with the shot. Vernon out of the net to make the save. Vernon came out to challenge that time, as Grant Fuhrer did in the second period on Steve Bozak. Oh, they score! Oh, Steve Smith, in attempting to get it out of his own zone, put it in the net. At the side of the net, he was trying to pass it out, and it hit Grant Fuhrer, I believe, and went in.
Well, everybody's in a state of shock right now, and the Calgary bench, they couldn't believe it. Now, there's the puck stopped by Grant Fuhrer. Watch Smith. He comes out right in front of his net and tries to pass it through the middle. It hit Grant Fuhrer and goes in. Now, for a defenseman,
the energy just disappeared.
Yeah.
And back then also, there was no long delay after a goal. What happened after a goal? The ref would get the puck out of the net, quickly go to the timekeeper to give who scored, and go to center ice and say, let's go.
Yep.
So it was quick. The Oilers bench was in shock.
Yeah.
And fortunately, I think it was the 8-something mark of the third. So 8 minutes left, lots of time left.
Yeah.
I think it took probably at least 3 or 4 full shifts for the Oilers to get over that. They were still stunned. And then they woke up and they started, like Vegas was pouring it on Calgary.
Yeah.
They came in waves, and Bernie stopped everything. He just kept stopping and stopping and stopping. And finally, we, as Badger would say, we got to the top of the mountain. And because when I joined the Flames in 85, first day I was there, I heard Badger talking about how we're going to beat the Oilers.
Mm-hmm.
Well, wait, aren't we playing the Leafs tonight? But every day he talked about how we're going to beat the Oilers.
Yep.
So Cliff Fletcher was making trades on how we'd beat the Oilers. Everything that was happening was about that.
Yep.
He traded for Nick Fotiu to make us tougher to beat the Oilers. So through that whole thing, when you're being, I guess, everyone's getting ready for that moment, we hung on. We finally did it. And all kind of got together and hugged each other. And we're in the locker room after. We're going, holy crap, we did it.
Mm-hmm.
And then that next day after flew back into Calgary, and there were thousands of people. This is the weight that was on the fans of the Calgary faithful here.
Yep.
And what was really cool now, and I think back of it, because everyone wants to look back at those moments in their life. In 1986, that particular moment of beating the Oilers and then getting that close to, winning a Stanley Cup and losing in the finals, that was a memory that carried the franchise through to 89 and through then a lot of the 90s. That was the memory people had of, do you remember the day where Steve Smith scored? Or do you remember the day when, and of course, Lanny scoring in Montreal for 2004 happens. Those are the times that bring fans in and lock them in. If you don't have those moments, you don't have a fan base. Like I think about the organizations. I mean, Phoenix Coyotes is a good one. They just got, what do they have to, those fans have to cling on to? They don't have much, right? San Jose Sharks fans have been, they're another one that, yes, they've got a long way, but sadly, they were so successful to get to the playoffs and have good regular season, the fans were accustomed to it. And what's a special moment in San Jose Sharks history? They're going back that we have these moments, and I guess with the 3 years, we have 04, 89, and 86, that really people that have been around Calgary for a long time will go, I remember that because I was in 6th grade, or I remember that because I was with my dad in the truck, and I guess that's why we spend money or care about sports. Sure. Because those moments happen, and that particular goal, to this day, I'll meet somebody, I don't care what city I'm in, or they'll, you're Perry Berezan? Like, yeah. He goes, you scored a Steve Smith goal. And I got to tell you, I was in training with the investment firm that I was with at the time, with Bank of Montreal, and I was down there, and a bunch of us decided we're going to the Hall of Fame, and we going for a tour of the Hall of Fame, and they were doing on the intercom trivia for prizes, so the guy would announce over the PA what the trivia question was, and if you were the first to come answer it, you got it. And I came walking by, and where the guy was announcing from, and he looked at me, he goes, excuse me. I said, yeah. He goes, you Perry Berezan? I'm like, yeah. I said, how do you know that? He goes, I know everything. And he goes, you're the one who scored this. He goes, that's my next trivia question. He goes, I want you to stand here. So we're in the Hall of Fame, and I'm standing right beside where this guy, and he announces who scored the famous Steve Smith goal that knocked out the Edmonton. And all these people start coming back. Lanny McDonald, nope. Hint is around here, though. And so people are looking, they're looking, right? They're looking at all the different, and they're guessing all these different names. And finally, after about 6 people, someone comes in and goes, isn't it Perry Berezan? And the guy goes, yes. And he's standing right here. And the guy goes, no effing way. So, yeah, it has, it's survived a long time since 86. And thank God, because it's still bringing fans around.
Oh, it's awesome. We are live from the Oodle Noodle studio. We're not just crazy about noodles. We put this same energy back into the community. That's why I love them. 2 locations for Oodle Noodle, 1244 17th Avenue Southwest, 105 Main Street North in Airdrie, pickup and delivery. I can see he's ready to go. So why don't we bring in the Hall of Famer? I mean, I can go on and on and on.
Best guy ever.
Best guy ever with the Athletic. Eric Duhatschek joins us. Eric, how are you, sir?
I'm great, and I'm going to have a tough time topping that last story from Perry.
Oh, Eric, don't keep talking because we can't hear you.
Yeah. Why can't we hear it? Oh, hold on. We'll get you on here, Eric, in a second.
And Eric, when we were traveling during those times,
Yep.
Eric and I found that we love music. We both love music.
Oh, that's an understatement.
Eric and I would sit in airports and we would talk about music, all the different, and he would introduce me. He goes, I'm going to make you a tape and mixtape. I'm going to make you. He made me a couple of mixtapes, and he introduced me to people that I'm like, oh God, I haven't heard this before. Okay, if you like that, I'm going to make you another one. We had relationships with the media at the time. Like Eric was a pal. George Johnson was a pal. Grant Pollock, these guys were pals for a lot of us during that time. And so, heck, the going back with Eric goes back a long way, not just from he was reporting for us, but we were good friends.
Well, the good news is Eric can hear us. We just can't hear Eric yet, but we'll get that worked out here in a second. And those mixtapes.
I still have it. Still have his mixtapes.
Oh yeah, but they're legendary.
I've got nowhere to play them.
They're legendary.
Absolutely. Anyone got a cassette recorder?
No, he's on CD now. Nod your head. You're on CDs. Yeah, exactly. Right? So,
okay. Can you hear me now?
We'll get Eric on here in a
second.
second. You know what? This gives me a good opportunity to remind everybody that the NHL trade deadline is 1 week from today, and Daily Face-Off Live will have a trade deadline show on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. our time, Mountain Time. NHL insider Frank Seravalli and his panel will break it all down. So there you go. That's coming up. It's been an interesting week for me.
Yeah.
We'll get it.
Technology's great until it doesn't work.
It's not that it doesn't work. It works.
Sometimes
you just got to get
it
to work
work.
right. That's all. So we'll get it.
It's dark clouds in the sky sometimes.
I hope Eric doesn't have his mic on mute.
We had the same problem last week.
Oh, okay.
Mic, but I have the USB on, so it should be coming through. So I just got to reconnect his mic.
Okay, perfect. Okay. So he's back. Can you test him off the air? You want me to test him on the air?
Maybe I'll give him a quick test.
Eric, how about now?
I can hear you.
No.
I can hear you.
Gosh.
I can hear you.
All right. We'll get our best people on it. It's without a net, right? I go back to the anysportingtime.com days when we started doing this stuff 20 years ago, and we needed a phone line. And in the case that we didn't have a phone line, we had a big giant box this big that they used in camps, oil camps and stuff like that. And you'd plug in it, and what it was a cellular phone, but it was just a block that you plugged a phone line into, and we would do broadcasts out of that from some crazy arenas that, you wouldn't,
The simple days.
The good old days.
You plug one plug.
Yeah.
Very easy.
Yeah.
Eric was a very. This is a player's perspective, because people when they ask me about what was that media guy like, all the different things, I'm like, well, I mean, how closely did we read his stuff? We really didn't read it that closely, but he was a good guy. Mm-hmm. And as I say, it was those two, it was George Johnson and Eric that were hanging, that were on the road with us. So they would, because we were taking regular flights at the time. So we would be in the airports waiting for a delayed flight. Heck, you might be seated next to Eric because you got the seat that, he next to where he was sitting. We weren't segregated for sure. Like the guys now, you can't get to, those reporters can't get to know people.
No, the access, and I just don't think the player nowadays has that same interest. They're more guarded for a myriad of reasons. Have to be. So did you guys, because Lanny used to divvy up the tickets, right?
It was whoever. It would be a veteran anyway. I mean, it might have been.
Were the media guys involved in that too?
No.
Okay. No. So
they would just get whatever seats they get from the PR guy. So at the time, it would have been Rick Skaggs.
Yeah.
And then if Rick didn't divvy them all out, he would give them to one of the captains or one of the senior guys. So in those early years, I spent a lot of time between two very stinky hockey players that maybe got up 4 hours before because I had always had to take the middle. When you're a rookie, you get the middle seat,
Absolutely,
buddy.
you do.
And if you got anything but that, it just was luck. But I felt really bad when some old lady who just going back home or going to wherever city to see their daughter is stuck between two hungover, stinky hockey players who were in their 5th day in the same outfit. It's not good. And those poor people, at the time I think, geez, that'd be fun to be travel next to some of the professional athletes. Probably not in the day. Back in the 70s, especially 70s and 80s. But nowadays, sure, because they know that there's a phone or a video camera or any kind of camera ready to take a picture of you in a not so good a state. So yeah, we did get away with a lot of stuff.
And some practical jokes too.
Oh, jeez, they were endless.
In the boarding lounges and things like that. Like,
you don't take your shoes off because you won't find them when you wake up. If you're having a nap, you won't find your shoes because they're not around anywhere. And how many guys walking from the gate all the way down to baggage claim with their socks on only, hoping that the joke will be called upon before they have to go outside in the snow. Or, you lose your tie because you wake up in the tie. Or you've got whatever all over top of you. It was endless and ruthless and fun.
Wasn't there
so much
something
fun.
Involving a $20 bill and some fishing line?
Yeah, that fishing line one was really good because someone would bring the fishing line, tie it to, a $20 bill would be, that's big. I'm not sure any of us were doing that. It'd be a 5 or a 10. And you would just sit around waiting for someone to go pick it up. And you put a yank on it. And that entertained us for hours of delayed trips.
Sure.
Or the old crazy glue, which someone would bring crazy glue on a long road trip, and you'd crazy glue a quarter, to the ground. And watch numerous people try with every bit of energy they have in their body to get that thing off the ground and put it in their pocket. And then look around as the rest of us are howling and laughing at them. The airport fun was, I can say it's fun now, but it was still brutal to have to travel as much as you did.
Yeah, and the way you did,
and wait for whatever delayed flights. But yeah, there was a ton of fun that went with it too. I remember running into Mike Civic on one delay at the airport, and I'm sitting down with Mike Civic because I was mad. He'd reffed our game the night before. I was mad at him because of the way he missed a call or did whatever. And he's, the way Civic is.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's like, no, that was, he holds his position.
Walked you right through it.
And then I started quizzing him on, like, well, can I do this? What if I did this? Would that be, like, am I going to get a 2-minute penalty or 4-minute penalty if I did that? And I actually learned a lot of inside scoops by having the ear of a linesman or a referee. Do you think the current players have that now?
No, I certainly don't. Should I try Eric? Because he's right on my screen here.
Yeah, it might be the settings.
Okay.
Might not have picked up his mic that he's using because some of the defaults.
So you want me to get him to do what?
Just
Check.
his mic settings.
Check. Okay. Eric, I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes.
We still can't hear you. We're a little concerned about your mic settings.
Okay.
So we'd like you to go in and check your mic settings. And right now, I think that's good for everybody. I think if you're watching this podcast, this would be a good time for you to check your mic settings too.
Yeah.
Right?
And learn sign language, and then we would have to too.
Yes.
So that wouldn't work.
Can you hear me now?
No, I don't think that would work. You know who's coming up? I should tell you who's coming up on Monday. Adam Seaborn, who's our sports business guru. I'm looking forward to that conversation. Ryan Pike, the managing editor at Flames Nation, will be 5 days away from the trade deadline. We'll check in on the Calgary Flames. But in 10 days, I got the guest that I was most hoping to get when I came back to the platform. Kelsey Snow is going to come in and sit down, of course. She's got an outstanding podcast, and she's done an outstanding job of chronicling assistant general manager Chris Snow in his battle with ALS and the impact that it's had on the family. And I'm just really excited to get her in here and tell that story and talk about the podcast. It's raw, it's real, but they've done an amazing job of drawing attention to ALS. They've done an amazing job of raising money for ALS, and they've been an inspiration for everybody. So I'm really excited about that.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. Well, all right. We're going to keep plugging away.
Next week,
yes,
Eric DeHatchik will be back.
Yes, I kind of have a sneaking suspicion that might be how this works. Were you traded at the deadline?
I was traded, I believe it was March 1st.
So it had to be close then.
Yeah, it was around it, but that would have been in 1989, and there was no trade deadline day media coverage. There would have been the transaction report in your local paper the next day that it might have come in on. So I get traded, I think 2 or 3 days before the trade deadline to Minnesota. And as I'm playing with Minnesota, I'm facing off against other teams. Guys are going, "What are you doing here?"
Yeah.
Weeks later, because nobody's aware of trades really, unless they're splash trades. Mine definitely not a splash trade, but it was non-eventful except for me because I had to move out of here and go to Minnesota. So definitely different times. They didn't have a massive desk of reporters reporting that former second pick of the Flames.
That's right.
In the third
round, yeah.
was traded, but yeah.
Did it play, because now it's almost a national holiday, right? Like it almost seems like once you're through Christmas in this league,
what do you got to look forward to?
Right, and everybody starts looking at the possible UFAs, looking at the teams that are not playing well, start naming the names, start, hearing the rumors and the rumblings, and it seems like it's going on for 8-9 weeks. It wasn't that way when you played, was it?
No. But the only time it actually affected, because this national coverage wasn't happening to begin with. There was no national coverage. It was Hockey Night in Canada, and that's it. The rest of the week you waited for the song to come on, and that's it. So for us as players, it was the rumors of a trade coming up. That Cliff's going, Cliff is hinting that he's going to pull something, and wondering if something is going to happen to yourself. But ultimately, you learn really quick when you're there that the guy who's sitting in the stall next to you for practices and games could be gone in a minute, because all of a sudden the stall's empty, and where'd he go? He got traded last night. I mean, that's what happened to me. I got the phone call at 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening from Al McNeil and Cliff Fletcher, and I was on a flight in the morning. So it's not like I said goodbye to anybody. I don't think most guys on our team would have looked at my stall and said, "Where's Perry?"
Right.
I got traded yesterday. That's how it ended, and I was playing for the North Stars the next night. So it took no time for me to. I didn't have any time to settle in.
I just want to thank our texters. Tyler, I think it's an internal issue because the people are saying they can hear all three of us.
Oh,
but
great.
Perry and I can't hear Eric. So it seems like it's more of an internal issue. So hopefully we can get Eric back. I'm just wondering if, and again, I am no engineer. We've already proven that. But I'm just wondering if we're getting the computer feed in our headset. Because the other thing, but if this helps at all, I didn't hear the beep when he popped up, and I heard the beep before.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so we're not getting the internal. So everybody else can hear him. We just can't hear him.
Darn.
Not yet. No, we're getting there. We're close.
Okay.
We are close. And by the end of this hockey season, we will have it down to an absolute science, an art. That's what we'll have it. We'll have it down to an art.
Are we as close as the Flames were to winning last night? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, don't be like that. Don't be like that. Yeah, don't be like that. So I do want to let Eric know, because it isn't his fault.
Okay.
It's internal on
Right
our
now,
end.
knowing Eric right now, he'd be feeling bad that somehow he messed this up. And Eric
I hope
doesn't
not.
mess anything
No,
up.
he doesn't. I did. Okay. But Eric can hear us. So I want to start down this path. And once we get this little problem fixed, the internal.
Yeah, I'll try to get him on here and see.
Okay, perfect. So he's back. The good news, Eric, is everybody else can hear you. The bad news is Perry and I can't hear you. So, I feel like I could just give you the questions, you can answer them, and I'll just assume that it's good, that the answers are what we want. But we've talked an awful lot about the 80s, Perry, and Eric's heard a little bit of this.
Can you hear me?
This past week, Connor McDavid hit a very important plateau, 800 points. He did it in 545 games. 545 games, okay? The four gentlemen ahead of him, Gretzky, 352, which not surprising. We talked about Mario Lemieux, 410 games to get to 800. Mike Bossy, that one surprised me a little bit. And it shouldn't have, but it did. 525 games. And then the unforgotten superstar, Peter Stastny, 531. Am I wrong about that? Do we forget about how good Peter Stastny was? I'm talking to you, Perry, because
Oh, you're talking to me. You
Well,
can't talk
Eric,
to Eric.
I can't hear
forgot.
Eric.
Eric, I'm sorry.
It'll be great when we hear
yes,
Eric.
for sure.
Thank
We
you.
forget, and he
Okay.
was
A
amazing.
superstar.
He was amazing.
So those are the four players that are ahead, okay, behind Connor McDavid. This is interesting to me. So Connor McDavid, 545 games to get to 800 points. Crosby, 571. Ovechkin, 658. Malkin, 680. Stamkos, 779. So the four ahead of them are all what we would consider the 80s icons. And then the four behind them are really the icons from this era.
Yeah.
So are these the two eras? Okay, I'm just getting it should be coming in, eh?
Yeah, it should, like, 'cause I have the
Okay.
external feed, and it's the soundboard's not bringing it in.
The soundboard's not. Can we maybe take a pause? Could we take a pause and reset it?
Yeah.
And then try and come back? So if I told the audience, the stream's not going to change, right?
I'll just check.
Okay, we're just going to check. But I think what we're going to do is
look
take...
at Eric's picture right now.
Well,
Look
no,
at him.
he's got
He's
the patience.
so disappointed.
He's got the patience of Job. The man has the patience of Job. He has so much he wants to say. But I think what we can do, if we can do this, we will attempt to just take our first ever commercial break. and which was going to differentiate us between us and the radio. And it really won't be a commercial break. Okay, I can hear myself now in an echo. That's gone.
Brought to you by Humpty's Egg Place. All it's cracked up to be, and more.
Yeah.
You're missing your career
So
there.
anyway, okay. Before I get the okay to take a break so we can get Eric this whole thing solved with Eric and reset. That's something, isn't it? Like there's a thing. There's not.
I don't know.
So Connor McDavid is right smack in the dab. That's what I'm talking
Yes,
about.
we're talking about hockey.
Connor McDavid is smack dab in the middle of two eras.
Because to me, that's how come we need Eric. Because when I look at that, yes, but things aren't completed yet. Because when
800 points is completed. He's got 800 points.
But his book isn't completed.
No. I'm not.
That's why it's really cool to compare people that have had the full career, that have been done for a long time, to guys that are still playing, to where they fit in.
Right.
Because ultimately, we know Connor's going to end up in the top 3, 4, I don't know.
No, he's going to end up with those guys.
Although, if he never wins a cup, will he be in the top 4, 5? Does winning a cup mean that much?
Is that why Stastny's the forgotten superstar?
Could be. It definitely could be.
I don't think so. I think that Connor McDavid, regardless of cups, will be
the top.
I don't know if he'll be the top in that top echelon.
In that top.
Yeah.
Number 3?
Yeah.
Maybe, because I guess he'll never touch the numbers of the top 2.
Well, I shouldn't say that. I mean, Ovechkin, there's a lot of people who think Ovechkin's going to get to Gretzky's goal record, right?
That's true.
Which I always thought was going to be, the tough one will always be the the most combined points by two brothers.
And then the Bobby Orr thing, which is the one that you and I can relate to because of our age. We're arguing, where does Bobby Orr fit? Longevity. Mike Bossy, longevity. These short careers that those two guys had.
Eric Lindros, longevity.
Eric Lindros. This is where even Eric Dahachuk's time on the Hall of Fame committee.
Well, there's longevity there.
You have to find out, how do all of them come together? So if a player was the most amazing, if McDavid's career ended today, he's played long enough.
In fairness,
that he would end up being one of the greatest. But
Tyler, in fairness to Mr. Dahachuk, why don't we take him off the screen? Then he can yawn, he can stretch, he can swear at us, he can do whatever he wants. But leaving him up there is a little bit awkward for him and quite honestly me, because I'd like to talk to him. I'm sitting here screaming under my breath because I've been waiting. I just thought that number was.
So where do you put in the ranking of this if you were asked to do that? Somebody's length of the career, how they endured a longer career. Like, let's say Ovechkin plays another 8 years. Seems crazy, but let's say he does. Does that elevate him even more? Greatness, like the Gordie Howe versus scenario.
Okay, and one that I got to sit out because I was in the business world rather than in the broadcast world was Patrick Marleau passing Gordie Howe.
Yep.
But he passed them for NHL games.
Right.
Didn't pass them.
Points.
No, pro games, because they didn't include the WHA games, right?
Yeah, right.
And the longevity there. And that's, to me, is one of the great pieces in this argument that, again, it comes back to an age thing. And this isn't old guys yelling at clouds, but to me, I think the WHA numbers are significant. I think, they don't add a lot to Gretzky, but they add a bit to Gretzky.
Yeah.
And even Messier too, right?
A little bit.
But for Bobby Hull and for Gordie Howe, it kept them going, right? And actually brought them both back into the NHL briefly. Longevity, I think there has to be some, and again, this is, I don't want to talk about it until we get them on.
Yeah.
But, it's that whole conversation about championships, longevity, point production, league. It's the Hockey Hall of Fame, not the National Hockey League Hall of Fame, right? There's so many different factors that go into that. But, I just, if anything I took away from McDavid was, are we actually living through the second best offensive era of hockey? Because the four guys ahead of him are all from one era.
Yeah.
The 4 or 5 guys, because Kane's behind him. Kane's got had 800 points in 786 games. So those 5. It's not like Dick Clapper or trying to think of somebody, Kachuk or somebody like Waite that played kind of predominantly in the 90s or anything like that. That was the dead puck era, right? Yeah. That robbed us of offense. It does feel like, to a certain extent, that maybe unbeknownst to us, because of all the tweaking and the difference, the 3-on-3 overtime, the changing of the rules, the elimination, essentially the elimination of fighting and the hooking and the holding.
The more room, in fact, the taking and I would love to actually ask a current player that has played for 10 plus years, ask simple question of, were you more fearful of getting, when you realized your head was down 10 years ago or less than you are today? More or less than you are today?
My assumption would be I'm more fearful today.
Oh.
Because I'm used to it back then. I expected it back then. I should expect it back then. I don't think you're expecting it now, because I think you can play a week, 2 weeks without getting rocked. Whereas,
but shouldn't, again, for me is thinking back, I'd go, I'll take the risk.
But when you went into Philadelphia, what were you expecting?
You were expecting to get whacked, hacked, punched, slashed.
You went up to Edmonton. What were you expecting?
Same thing.
Right. Boston.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. the Rangers and the Flames played that intense game out of the break.
Yes.
It was, rock'em sock'em. Trouba was hitting everybody, and all we said was, "My God, wait until they play 10 days later. It'll be part deux." And it was a good game, but it wasn't.
Right.
Right. And I'm thinking that you would be not surprised to get your clock cleaned. Yeah. Today, I think you could go a week, 2 weeks without ever being touched, if that makes any sense.
Yes.
Nobody's like, how many times were you hip checked?
Oh, jeez.
Ass over tea kettle.
Yeah, or clotheslined, or just punched hard.
Right.
And knocked down without any recourse, or cross-checked across the face without recourse. That.
But you didn't complain about it.
That you got up.
Right.
You absolutely got up, because you're not. There's not even going to be a penalty. That's just the way it was. But I wonder, and I say that, and Connor McDavid nowadays, you could even. I mean, it'd be good to find out from him if he even thinks about it. He can't be thinking about it, because if Connor McDavid is thinking about, I don't want to get caught with my head down.
Okay.
And he's not thinking of making plays.
Okay.
And what he needs to do. So I'd love to pick a current guy's that's, again, been in the league for at least 10 years and find out what that's all about.
Okay. Unfortunately, we don't really have a workaround today for Eric, so we're going to apologize to Eric. We've kind of taken up and ruined his afternoon.
Do you have parting gifts for him?
We will. We will absolutely get parting gifts for Eric. My hope is that Eric will be kind enough maybe to join us next week if I get my crap together.
Can you make a mixed tape for him?
I can see him. He's laughing at you.
We
terrible.
need to make a mixtape for him.
I feel terrible.
Ask him if Eric, do you still have a cassette tape? Player.
Oh, yes, he does.
Okay.
Yes, he does.
Then there you go.
All right.
We'll have to make a mixtape.
Okay. My apologies to Eric Tahachuk from The Athletic. I do want to let everybody know that today's reading assignment is the NHL 99, a project ranking the greatest players in modern NHL history. You need to be an Athletic subscriber to read it. I encourage everybody to go and check it out. I think I just tweeted it out here a couple minutes ago too. We will get Eric on here ASAP in the next couple of days, and we will be talking about that. But again, I do want to apologize to Eric. I feel terrible. This is the second Hall of Famer that I've done this to this week. It's a hell of a way to start a show, but here we are. So I apologize for that.
We're still here.
Oh, you and I are still here. We're not going anywhere. Well,
we got some good facial expressions from Eric. So that was important. Well, that was his contribution today.
Yes. The other thing would be to get him a whiteboard and he could just write out his answers.
Wouldn't that be terrific?
Yeah. So, all right. Sorry about that, Eric. All right. See you, pal. I am Rob Kerr. He is Perry Berezan, but you know that. Why you know that? Because this here is a podcast. Yes. Right? So everybody knows. Did you get a chance to check out the website? robkerr.ca?
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
You can go there. You can check out my consulting business, robkerr.ca/JALD, J-L-D.
You would need a massive website to put all the good things you have done in this city since you have arrived here, because you are the hardest working man each and every day you live in this city.
Well, I would say I learned from you and Colin and Peter.
We never worked as hard as you do.
That. By the way, do want to recognize that we are doing this broadcast on Treaty 7 territory. And, of course, this broadcast is for everybody. It is open to everybody. It's inclusive. It does not matter race, gender, anything. You are welcome here. This is we are advocates and we are allies, and we're happy to have you, which brings us to a conversation that you and I were having yesterday that I kind of want to dive into a little bit. And I think now I finally feel comfortable we have the perfect platform to have that conversation. The Calgary Flames have introduced a Black History Month jersey that is really cool, and it was designed by Chris Huey and Brent Gibbs and Tori Peterson had her hands in there. But it's an homage to Jerome McGinley, the former captain, and the tweets keep coming and the details keep coming, and it's just it's.
Did Jerome have a part in that?
I don't know.
That'd be cool if he did.
I'd have to think on some level he would.
Mm-hmm.
I'd have to think on some level he would. But I can't. I love this stuff. It's funny. On Wednesday we were having a conversation, and I'm big on jerseys. Like I'm all like Bring them on. 41 games, 41 jerseys. Let's do it. I have no problem with this. The Vancouver Canucks are doing an Indigenous night, and they had Gino Odjick's brother design a jersey for them, and it's terrific. Where I get a little flustered and a little frustrated is they're just practice jerseys or warm-up jerseys. They're not game jerseys, and I'm going to repeat what I said to you yesterday, and we'll get to where we got to yesterday. But I get a little frustrated because it seems that process is now beginning to seem a little disingenuous to me. That if you're going to honor a culture, if you're going to do something for pride or whatever, that your heart should be really into it. I do feel that there's a lot of what I call octopus games. We are going to celebrate octopuses. So we're going to do an octopus warm-up jersey. We're going to have an octopus sing the national anthem, and then we'll play a video about the octopuses. And that's it. Done. Look at us. We celebrated octopuses.
Octopi. Not octopuses.
So where the controversy came in this conversation much earlier than I thought, quite honestly. I was expecting the controversy to come a little further on, but yes, we are celebrating octopi.
I don't know.
No, I know, but that I get a little frustrated with that. And I'm venting a spleen to you yesterday about this. I'm going on and on and on about this, and then I stop eventually. And you said, but do we need this?
Yes, because my feeling with sports is it's a place for myself to get away.
Right.
To escape.
Right.
And watch the plays, watch the excitement, feel the energy, whatever that is. Put on the, it's not me putting on the Flames jersey, but because I don't when I go to games. However, if I did.
Not only do I think you do, I think you wear your own jersey.
That would really feel weird.
Right?
So for the people that go and they just, it doesn't matter who's sitting next to them. They're high-fiving them. The whole idea of, the race, the gender, the politics, especially politics. I'm like, please keep it away from sports because this is the time everyone in that building is either cheering for the Flames or against the Flames, and that's all that matters. And let's go. Let's play. And then they all walk out and you're high-fiving the guys that you were cheering with and, booing the guys you were cheering against. And I got a break. Between games, there's talk about other stuff. And that's where I got annoyed when the game, as a player, the game went from our salaries were not disclosed to disclosed. And now the only talk from people was like, he's making that much? Oh my God, he's not good. Or he's immediately started to have two numbers on your back.
Right.
Your contract number and the number that you wore. And it started to take the fun out of it. All the players started to get richer, so that was the good thing for all the players because when the money was disclosed. But as the business part of it got more and more into from the media and fans, I just thought it's lost that kind of not wholesome because professional sports has never been wholesome, but it's lost that pure fun of it. And now in the last probably 10 years, politics has found its way to be as much involved in politics and other issues, social issues, as much a part of the games as the business end. And I'm like, I just don't want it to intercept. It's fine to discuss things between, but the intercepting of it for me is, I think it's taking a lot of the pure fun away from it. Awareness stuff, like the stuff that we do as alumni, raising awareness for charities and organizations, all that stuff is fantastic on its own. But when the game starts, I don't want it intercepting. And I'm sure I speak with the same for others. And this is where I have I've had a tough time with it. I'm good with the warm up thing, and then that's it. Because once the game starts, It's just the Flames versus the Rangers, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Not the Flames wearing a Pride jersey against the Rangers. No.
But does it have the significance if you don't invest in it wholeheartedly?
I don't think that's the role of that game, to have a significance.
But sport has always played, good, bad, or indifferent.
Yeah.
Sport has always been on the leading edge of social change. Jackie Robinson, Willie O'Ree,
Yes.
The 80 boycott, it was the Summer Games that were boycotted in 80, the 84 boycott. Sports, especially in gender issues, we're currently going through that right now.
Yeah.
To me, I think there's a way of doing it, and I think sport can really speak to issues that you and create conversations that you can't have in other places.
Yeah.
I do feel that we're kind of half pregnant sometimes. Back to my octopus game. I think either you do it or you don't do it. Now, I think the other part of that too is I don't think it can be 41 social-driven games. I think it can be social-driven, but I think there needs to be some fun in there. I think there needs to be, for the lack of a better term, St. Patrick's. The Roughnecks have a St. Patrick's Day game, right? And those sort of themes and those sort of things. But I think it's important and necessary for sport to stand up and make a statement. And partially because of the word you used, I think the role of sport is now more important than ever because of the way our politics in this continent have kind of broken down along party lines. They've really become the true sports, right? My team versus your team.
Yeah.
Our team dunked on your team. My team beat your team.
I think then players getting involved during, game time, I think it just makes it worse. To where I'd love, and we'll use Pride as the example.
Sure. Because we've just seen that in Philadelphia,
Yeah.
and we saw that with the Rangers.
The players go ahead, like in the for the warm up, do where they were wearing pink or whatever the heck that is, to say, hey, we support the game. As a player and as the coaching staff and as the management, sorry, it's game day. We're done. We went to the Pride Parade last week. We supported it. We took pictures with everyone. Our players were there. We did all that. It's game day. We're not going there during game day. And I, as a fan now, I don't want to go there during game day either. When I arrived at the arena, I saw that they were at the parade.
So then how do you, and this particular topic affects both of us.
Sure it does.
Right? How do you begin to allow that conversation to be normal? If you're saying, because somehow we're saying sports is more important than that particular topic.
I'm just saying,
You're saying
sports, the reason I go
yes.
as a fan
Right.
is to get away from it.
Right.
I don't want it included in it but when the game ends and the next day at practice,
And how much attention are you paying the next day of practice?
Well,
How much impact can that have? How much impact?
I understand where you're coming from because it makes a much bigger impact if you're doing games. All I'm saying is I don't like it because it's taking away from what I go to sports for.
Right.
And that's to disappear.
Right.
I want to disappear.
Why is it keeping you from disappearing?
Well, it's not keeping me from disappearing, but it's not just about the sport. At that point, then it's about, well, I don't want the cross-section diluting the product itself. And then the messaging with sports should be about just sport. And during game day, that's what I like.
See, no, and understand. I hope everybody understands that this is, we said yesterday, let's have this conversation on it, because we're finally on a platform where we can have this conversation because it's non-judgmental. We're talking openly about this, and I think it's really important to do this without how dare you and you this and you that. To me, what it's almost beginning to boil down is a little bit of the what I call delicate genius thing. And you've heard me use this term before. I get so frustrated because somehow we're not allowed to talk to goalies on game day. They're delicate geniuses.
Don't touch
right?
their pads.
And you can talk to a player 2 hours before a game, but you can't talk to a player an hour before a game. There's a delicate genius thing to this. Honest to God, answer me this question. Yeah. How many times did you look down at your jersey when you were warming up 20 minutes before a game? How aware were you of your jersey?
Very much so.
You're very aware of your jersey.
Yeah, very much so. And I think I got to, it's ingrained in you. And I was a St. Albert Saint, the coaching, Doug Messier.
Oh, Doug Messier. That's not a coach. That's a different thing.
Yeah, I mean, it was like, it's the jersey you're playing for. It's that team. You're playing for the jersey. When I went to North Dakota, we had the Indian head on in University of North Dakota. It was the captain's job before we went out for that after warm up to squirt the water bottle in the Indian's face to say, we take care of the Indian take care of us. That was the whole thing. That's how you had so much pride in your jersey. The jersey couldn't be thrown on the floor or you were in serious trouble. So how much aware of it was it when I had that Flame jersey on? Oh my goodness! It's like so.
But you would have never. By that time, they weren't doing.
They weren't doing any.
No, they weren't doing any promotion.
And we would wear our white jerseys at home and the dark jerseys on the road.
Absolutely.
Because I guess because white jerseys are harder to keep clean on the road. That's what the reason was. So was I aware? Absolutely, I was aware. But it was, and they were super. There was nothing on them but your patch and your number and your name bar.
So what about that kid that's in the crowd that sees his heroes wearing something that signifies him, that he now feels recognized and he now feels like that's me, I'm part of that community?
It's great.
What do you mean it's great?
Well, that's great for that
That's
kid.
why we do it.
It is, but
that's why we do it.
We can't, and it's not, again, I hate to say, on game day, it's not, for me, it's not the job of that team to make that kid feel that way.
So
during the day before, when the team was at the hospital visits or they were let's say the Pride Parade or whatever it was that they were going to show the community, the local community, what they care about, how they care about it.
Your argument is not about wokeness. Your argument is not about virtue signaling. Your argument isn't about the choice of what. Your argument is game day versus. So really, this is
or I'd even be good with. I would I'm talking from a player and a fan, both.
Yep.
I'd even be good with, which we do between periods, or even timeouts when they use timeouts. When it's military night at the Dome, where the military are there and they're supporting them, that the Flames don't need to be wearing camo outfits to make sure that they're taken care of. The announcer will do it, the big screen will do it, but let the players play between the periods.
What I'm hearing from you is we need to peel this onion back a little bit more. What is the role of a professional top end
to win
professional sports team in a city?
Just it's sadly it's game day. It's to win.
So you have no social responsibility.
No, game day. No, I say
okay.
Game day.
Game day,
you have no social responsibility. The team itself can do what, as I said, between whistles and periods, do whatever you have to do. But those players have one job, and that's to win. When game day comes, that is it. Because we know if the team's not winning, everything else falls apart.
Right.
The great thing about the city of Calgary and being a part of the Calgary Flames as a player and alumni is this ownership group and this management cares so damn much about the community and doing what's right for the community that every possible moment those players can or are allowed to be out in the public, they want them doing good things and spreading good messages to do the community. But yeah, I'll stay on that side of stop, and I say stop diluting. I mean with commercial breaks and all the this is Face Off brought to you by. I know it's all getting diluted.
Yeah.
I want more of a pure game again on game day. And yeah, between, okay, fine, a little bit here and there, but leave the players alone, leave the coaches alone. Don't let them do their job. And that one job, I guess Daryl Sutter's probably a good guy with that, because game day happens, if Daryl sees a player smiling or not quite into it, you're gonna know. This coach definitely doesn't, and I mean Daryl Sutter, doesn't allow for any distractions on game day. In some ways, I guess as a fan, I would appreciate that when I got to the rink to watch.
I just think I recognize where you're coming from. I also recognize where it comes from too, right? Which is a different point of view than mine.
Yeah.
Because I don't have your shared experience.
And all the stuff you were able to do and accomplish when you were with the Hitman, and the awareness that came out of that.
Well, that's what
it is. I think it's fantastic, because the work you did was fantastic, and it created that awareness. I'm still going, but once we open that door too far,
right,
I'm worried about more dilution of the reason why I got there. I don't want to. What is the what's the Roughnecks
come for the game, stay for the party?
Yeah, I don't want it to be come for the game and then all the other stuff. I just want to come for the game and have fun, and enjoy it, and escape, like I do when I watch a Netflix series or whatever else. Just escape from it.
Right.
So. Yeah, others I know. There's so many good causes out there that would love that are fighting, calling the Flames every day, going, please, can we even get 30 seconds during a game time? Can we get a board thing? Can we just get an announcement? Anything. There's so many great causes, and the team tries their best to do that between periods before and after. But
I'm not going to call anybody out. But I made the mistake of looking down at the notes, or at the texts that are coming in. And there's still a lot of hate out there. Still a lot of hate out there.
Yeah.
And I don't get it. And this is not intended to be political or anything like that. There's, talk about a guy with bodies buried and stuff like that. But, John Wayne had a great old line about, I don't bother a man if he doesn't bother me, and, live and let live, right?
Yeah.
Again, bad example, but, to me, somebody being happy, that's their decision. What makes them happy is decision. But as I'm looking down at the text line, there's still hate out there.
Yeah, it's sad.
That I'm okay to support them, but I won't support them.
Yeah.
And
it shouldn't even get to that. Like, there's no reason.
But that's clearly what happened in Philadelphia, and that's clearly what happened with the Rangers, and that's clearly why that pride issue. Hey, Luke Prokop was a Calgary hitman when he came out and let everybody know that he was an openly gay man.
Yeah.
And he got traded because he wanted to be. He wanted to go home, so Calgary hitman accommodated him.
Yeah.
He went to Edmonton, and his teammates and his organization supported him, and they had a pride night. Guess what? They got all kinds of hate over it.
Yeah.
Why do we have to hate?
I don't know.
Right? Okay. So I get my back up when you say I don't want, because I want to fight this fight.
Yeah.
I want to roll up my sleeves, and I want equality, and I want, again, inclusion. I want people to feel like this is their sport. I want people to see that they're welcomed, right? And to me, if you're wearing a jersey, probably the most pride I have of anything is what Siksika was able to do with that Every Child Matters jersey.
That jersey was cool.
Right. But it had nothing to do with the hockey team, because we had nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
It was their story. They told it, the importance of it, residential schools and all of those sort of things, the healing that it is allowed. That is the strength of it. So when I hear you, and I'm not accusing you, Perry, I'm just, because I think we've gotten to kind of where you're at on this. This is the player wants to win. That's the job of the player. My question to you earlier was, if you were wearing an Every Child Matters jersey for a game, would it bother you? Would it affect you? Would it impact you?
No, but it's not the political parts of it. It's just the distraction. And to me, once that puck is dropped, I don't want the distraction because that jersey is going to be when I get in, and that's something different. And it's really weird when we're looking for, why is the Flames team lost 20 something games by 1 goal?
They've lost the league best 22 games by 1 goal.
I'm not going to say it's because they had to wear a different jersey. I'm saying that every person in that organization is looking for any sliver of evidence to what can help them get over that hump.
Right.
And every part of that, any part
but
of
you know what, that's
something that's a distraction away from the goal,
right,
is what they're fighting
But
against.
back to my delicate genius's point. At what point does that stop?
It can't.
I'll guarantee you right now, your teams did more day in, day out in the community than current incarnations of any NHL team.
Right? And part of that is league or association driven.
No, but also part of it is looking for every edge, right?
That's
we
true.
bring in sleep doctors. We're going to put a monitor on you. We're going to harness your sleep.
There's a coach for everything.
Right, there's a coach for everything. Are we doing too much in the community? Have we gone and seen Johnny and Jill too much at the Children's Hospital? I'm not talking about, please understand, I'm not talking about these Flames, Oilers, anybody. I'm just talking about the modern athlete.
And this is evaluated, to your point, this is evaluated every day in every professional sport and college sport and any highly competitive environment.
Absolutely.
To where they're monitoring what players are asked to do, and is it too much?
Right.
Is it? And again, you also can't take a group of individuals that are 20 some people and expect them all to have the same feelings about that, which is the part which happened it was in New York, right?
Yep, the Rangers.
I don't like the and I don't remember the player's name.
Oh no, Philadelphia's?
Philadelphia.
Provorov wouldn't take the warm up.
I'm going, okay, but at the same time, okay, you're Russian Orthodox. You really believe it? Okay. He truly believes it. He is Russian Orthodox. All right. And then I'm fine with it, but the blow up I'm fine with him being Russian Orthodox and having that discipline. I can't, because otherwise it's, all the Russian Orthodox people are terrible people because they believe it. There's the beliefs that are out there are everywhere. But when it gets into that locker room, and now the coach is going, shit, we just divided our locker room because whatever we're supporting today, we're supposed to support. I got 3 guys in here that want no part of it. And yes, we can sit there and we can help educate and talk and tell them why it's important over and over and over. But that coach is now looking at how are they going to play now today? Are they going to play as good as they would have if this hadn't been a distraction? This is where this idea of the distractions for the end of the day, these teams, professional teams with $100 million salaries have to win hockey games.
Right.
And anyone around them, we can all have our pet projects that we love. Yeah. Like Berkey with Pride. And it's a perfect example of there's no way Berkey was going to be as open to all the other needs in the community because this was he has a love for it, he's a passion for it, and he's going to give it more attention.
Absolutely.
Is that fair to the other passions that are out there? Because why the Flames or whoever Berkey's with? It's just something I still, sports plays a big role, and the players, each individual athlete, have such important roles to play at influencing people.
Yeah.
But they're still individuals.
They are individuals, but I all due respect, I love you. I give you a kidney if you want it.
No,
but it reeks of delicate genius to me. If putting on a jersey and taking a warm up, even if you don't believe with the cause and just getting through it, you're not asked to do media. You're not asked to do public anything. You're asked to wear a jersey. If it's going to be it's my religious rights. Okay. Fine, whatever. But as a non-religious person, I have to acquiesce to religion all the time. That's okay. Mm-hmm. It's fine. It doesn't bother me, right? But I want to make, it's a problem if you want to make it a problem, then it's a problem. But we're all asked in our everyday lives to do things that aren't our favorite, our best, or whatever. We do them, we move on.
Especially a team player.
Right? Especially a team player. So if that is going to be such a distraction to you that it's going to impact your performance, we've got bigger issues. And I go back to the delicate genius thing.
But if this guy truly believes, because of the beliefs that he grew up was a Russian Orthodox child, and through his whole life, that and of course it's so against that, then he's trying to be true to himself. He's trying to be true to himself.
Sure.
At the same time, because he's thinking everything. I know. Again, I don't agree with.
No, I understand. I understand what you're saying.
He's trying to be true to himself.
I understand what you're saying.
And so are the other guys in the room saying, "I'm trying to be true to myself because I want."
Honestly, I'm honestly less offended with that because he's citing his beliefs, something. Right? I'm more upset with the Rangers who went all the way down and then Trouba said, "No, we're not doing it."
Yeah.
That's again, we're all, this is why we're having this conversation, because everybody else is afraid to have this conversation, because we can't have this conversation and your side or my side is going to piss off people. The bottom line to me, as far as I am concerned, is sport is too valuable a tool. The athletes are too valuable not to have the profile. To say, Perry, we'll do it on an off day, or we'll do it here, or we'll do it there, does not have the same impact. I would go back to Kaepernick, because that's where this whole debate really came from, right? And that was really the biggest politicalization of in modern times, right? Except that at the same time, there was millions and millions and millions of dollars being handed out to NFL teams by the military to honor the military.
Yeah.
That the New England Patriots were charging the U.S. military full freight to honor, so we're okay with that. We're okay with charging the military to honor the military. But this guy who got his advice from a Green Beret takes a knee, and we're crapping all over him. Yeah. By the way, nobody would have seen it unless a reporter reported it.
Yeah.
Right? And it does beg that question about the role of to me, it's not so much politics as the social role in sport. And that's why I wanted to have this conversation with you, because I am not right for maybe 50% of this audience. You're not right for maybe the other 50%. But I want to hear you. I want to understand you.
And that's where it's easy for me, because I like the purity of the game.
Yep.
And before and after, fine. A little in between, fine. But I just want to keep the purity of why watch sports.
But I think you can. I think, again.
Once it gets started, my fear, like a lot of stuff, is once it gets started, then it's like which I loved what the NHL did with the jerseys on. No advertising on jerseys for the longest time, right? They kept the purity of the jerseys without a bunch of patches all over, because they know that they look down in Europe at all the European teams and every available.
Dude, you were a rookie, and we were having that. Yeah. Oh my God, they're going to bring the European ads over, right?
And if you were the leading scorer, you had to wear a yellow jersey, and your team was wearing red.
I just happened to do a morning show on the radio when they said, "Oh, you can put them on the helmets." And the text line blows out. This is where I'm not going to watch hockey anymore. You don't notice it. You don't notice it. If you want to be mad, you will be mad.
Yeah.
If you want to be upset about something, you will be upset. I will say this. The proudest achievement that I've had in the last 5 years was working with Dr. Tyler White and Siksika Health on the Every Child Matters game, the jersey, and what that became. And you have to look beyond the announcements, the singing, the dancing, and understand that there was a lot of information shared there. There was a lot of resources shared there. To me, that's impactful.
Yeah.
The fact that Siksika Health played a huge role in allowing the Calgary Hitmen to play during the COVID bubble. They played a large role in that. Satina played a large role in that. That, to me, is the benefit, the result of standing up and saying, we want to give you an opportunity. We want to let people learn about your culture. We want people to come in here with a smile. I told you yesterday, The coolest thing I've ever seen at the Dome was a round dance in the second intermission. And
That is very cool.
Where we completely had a round dance going around the entire concourse. And that was all smiles and fun and everything. But people got an idea, got exposed to it. They learned a little bit more about the culture. If you're so inclined, you will chase the information.
Right.
That, to me, is what I'm looking for. Right. What I'm looking for is a incredible-looking Black History Month jersey being worn as a game jersey and not just as a, here it is as a practice jersey, right? At the same token, I want to see a Star Wars jersey, right? Like, or I want to see, I want to see something for the Children's Hospital, or I want to see a Peter Marr jersey, right? Like, I want us to get.
And I guess it would get right back to, because you were there in that organization on the business side trying to create revenue. What, just on pure, because ultimately I always go back to professional sports about winning and making money. They got to make money, because
it's about making money. It's about winning. You have it backwards.
Okay, making money. There you go. Because they got. Otherwise, why are they in it? The ownership they're going, what am I doing here? Otherwise,
and that's why I respect your opinion, because you did say. For me as a player, it's about winning.
You're trying to keep your job, and you'll keep your job longer if the team wins.
If I buy a franchise and I bring a team, Rob Kerr buys a franchise and brings a team to Calgary, it's about making the community better.
Yeah.
My Stanley Cups, my Memorial Cups, my Grey Cups are off the ice and off the field. Right. Always have been.
Yeah.
Now, having said that.
And you've been very good at that.
Well, having said that, I also know that to get the requisite attention, to make the requisite impact, you've got to be good enough that people care. The yin and the yang.
You do.
The yin and the yang, right?
You do.
Because if you're 0-82 and you're saving puppies, nobody cares.
No. Well, when I was with the San Jose Sharks for those first 2 years, and we were the worst team in the league by far, I was going on community visits to all over the place, and I'd show up, and it was crickets. And it was uncomfortable, and it was people looking past you to go, what the hell are you doing here?
Yeah.
Who are you?
Yeah.
What is that jersey? Are you guys the swimming team? Like, it was, so when you, as a player, you got to care about winning, because you know that right now, $100 million payroll, that's a lot of revenue's got to be generated to pay for that payroll alone, just on the team payroll. And if we're going to have, if Murray Edwards heard a pitch from you that if there were 41 different jerseys made, he would, be able to pay more on salaries too. Oh, and by the way, it also does a lot for the community stuff. It would probably happen, but I don't know if that's why I was asking you were there. Is there more revenue generated opportunities by having that many more jerseys, or do people just get so diluted with the fact that it's another jersey?
I think it's clearly not the same conversation, but it's a very similar conversation, probably divided along very similar lines.
Okay.
Because there are those, you said it before, oh my God, I can't have a, you know what I mean? And there are a lot of people. There were Hitman fans that didn't like it.
Yeah.
I get it. I understand it. I'm not saying I'm right. I've said this right when I started this program. I want people to listen to this show for information, not affirmation.
Yeah.
But please do not confuse facts and my opinion, because they're very rarely the same thing.
And
right?
Which we talk about before. You are the most passionate guy in Calgary. And when you have a cause, anyone out there listening, you have a cause in mind you want Rob Kerr to help with. When he bites down on that hook, he's all in, and he's going to be relentless in finding whatever they need to do, whether it's awareness or raising money for whatever purpose, because your heart and your passion leads in front of you.
But I also think it's got to be fun. The hashtag is sports is fun.
Yeah.
And right?
The event that you did with the media guys who all had to dress in cartoon characters on the ice.
Right?
That was unbelievable.
Right.
That was unbelievable.
But it's sports has got to be fun. And I sometimes, again, I think it's an interesting conversation to have with you, because, again, that intersection of fun but not on game day. Right?
On professional sports? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fun, but not on game day.
Again, do stuff for the fans outside, like, the rally things that they do and all that other stuff.
You're going to love this next segment.
But keep it out of the locker room and on the ice. That's that. If I am a general manager, player, coach, for sure, I'm sure the coaches think about, even if they're honoring a player in the other team for his 1,000th game and they know they got. So how long is this going to be delayed? Well, he was a good player. It's going to be 25 minutes.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like the world is going to end, and it really disrupts both teams at that point.
Am I
So how
allowed to
tough
have
are you?
Gritty parasail over the ice during a timeout with you on a game day? Can I have Gritty float over the ice, spin around during the TV timeout, land on the other
during
side?
the TV timeout?
Not during the game.
During the TV timeout, so, yeah, that part, a player's focused. Like, you're in the middle of the game with that for 30 seconds or 45 seconds. Players are focused.
Can I
That
have
doesn't bother them.
sing-alongs? Are you okay if we sing Sweet Caroline?
Yeah. It doesn't. Again,
That doesn't bother
once
you.
the game is going
All right.
and it's starting.
So which part of the jersey is...
It's the prep. I don't know that any of that's going to happen. And when it happens, I know it's going to be quick and it's out of there.
But to boil down your argument, you don't want to come in, get to your stall, you've geared down.
The distraction is the cause. The cause may be fine for 90% of the people. It may be maybe emotional for 5% of your team. It might be maddening to 5% of your team. It's what you're doing to that locker room when that particular cause, whatever it is, gets included. The coach doesn't want to have a big team meeting then to go, oh,
this sounds like I'm trying to win an argument, and I'm not.
Yeah.
But I just thought of something.
Yeah.
So back in my old radio days, when we did the shows at the golf courses,
Yeah.
I should have just not gone.
How come?
I hate golf.
Yeah.
It was distracting to me.
Well,
I'm a professional.
Well,
That's what I got to do. I got to do a sports show, but I'm at a golf, and I don't like golf.
But the teams have an option.
And by the way, I don't mind golf. I'm just making
the teams have an option.
What's
that? To do it or not to do it. The teams will decide whether to distract or not distract.
This is the first time this has happened.
Distract.
This is the first time this has happened, or at least the first time it's ever become public. Yeah. There have not in the past. What, again, it comes back to, and unfortunately I've seen it already a little bit on some of the texting here, is we do live in a fractured society. There is an angry society and an us versus them society, and I'm trying to live in a society that live and let live. If you don't impact me, if you're not go ahead. It does not bother me. Please feel free to practice your religion as you see fit. I'm not part of it, so leave me out of it. Right? And all of that. And this is an inclusive show. It has to be. We have to do a better job of listening to each other. We have to do a better job of giving each other space. We also have to understand our journeys, right? We have to understand our journeys. And that's why I appreciate the perspective you put on it, Perry, because I've never looked at it from the player. I always looked at it from the cause, the marketer, the fan, all of these things, and it checks all those boxes. But you've made the case from a player's perspective that it's a distraction. And every time I try to poke a hole in there, you've been able to seal it. Right.
Well, and we'll go back again to, if you're owning a team, unless it's just play money, you want to make money, number one, and you got to win, number two. And the other stuff are nothing but distractions. That's how come it's no most of the time. Unless, wait, that's a marketing opportunity. Okay, we'll do that. Or that's a community initiative that doesn't distract, because this coach, and I know we're getting close to this. Boy, we've ripped through.
I know.
Ripped through 2 hours.
Don't worry about it. Tyler's the only guy we got to worry about.
We have. I forget what the heck I was talking about. I don't even remember now.
But it was good. It was a very good argument.
I'm going to see right after this.
What's that?
Who lives close?
Who's?
Colin Patterson.
Yes, Patter. Yeah, he lives over here.
He's a couple blocks away. I'm going to go see him.
Well, you can bring this conversation up, see what he thinks.
Yes, there you go.
Right. Oodle Noodle. So would it bother you if we took a superhero player in a K trainer, so a device that they could skate with, and brought them out with the flag and had them line up at the blue line with you when the anthem was being played?
I'd love all. I as personally, I love.
No, that's not what I'm asking you. I'm asking you as the player, because you have brought to the attention that Our job is to win.
Player, as a player, I am. I'm speaking. I'm really more speaking from that team aspect. You're worried about the distractions for certain people, and you don't know who's going to be distracted or motivated.
Right.
And sometimes that motivated part is why the coaches or managers are going, yeah, bring them in there.
Okay.
It's purely, a lot of this is on game days, it's selfishness. It's 100% selfishness.
Yeah.
Is it going to help us win?
Yeah.
That's the only thing that they care about. If it's going to even take one iota away from the ability to win, you'll see pushback.
You're going to love this next segment. I'm telling you right now. We are in the Oodle Noodle studios. We bring the heat. Try their butter chicken mac and cheese, their kung pao noodles, their Bangkok pad thai classic, and they've got vegetarian gluten-friendly options. Pick up and delivery, 2 locations, 1244 17th Avenue Southwest, 105 Main Street North in Airdrie. It's the final mile here this afternoon. A couple things before we go home. I gave a reading assignment. So this is the second show in a row that I throw out a reading assignment. I think there's some great articles out there. I want to draw attention to them, and I think people are kind of looking for this. So today's is the Athletics NHL 99. There's a long one, by the way, because there's 99 long form interviews to read.
I loved how they release 10 each time.
Mm-hmm.
That was so cool the way they did that. I love that.
Yeah. Project ranking the greatest players in modern NHL history. So if I'm giving out a reading assignment, what do you think about the idea? Because I want some sort of interaction here. Do you think on Friday that I should give the good listeners of this stream and the podcast a homework assignment?
Sure.
Should I post it on the website and go, here's 2 or 3 things that we've talked about this week.
Yeah.
Give me your feedback on this. Is that the way? Should I be giving homework for this program? Because I don't think there's any homework on the barn burner.
I'd like to say that I miss homework because I don't.
Yeah.
But maybe maybe call it something else. Not a homework. What do you call it?
Well, remember we did this came up on my LinkedIn a little while ago. Remember when we did the GM plans?
Oh, yeah.
Like that was the most screwed up idea that turned out the best thing we've ever done sort of thing. But I love the idea of giving some opportunity to our listeners to participate in what we're doing.
Yeah.
And I think the best way might be, rather than looking for a quick tweet text or something like that, maybe, every Friday put a little homework on the. I agree with you. Maybe it needs a different name, but put it on the website, share it on social, and then you have a weekend project, and then you have till Monday's show to get it back to me, and then Monday and Wednesday I can kind of. Are you going to grade
the papers?
I'm going to grade the papers. That's what I'm saying. Maybe it's homework. All right. Before we go home today, do you know who the Savannah Bananas are?
You were telling me the other day on the phone.
I pray every morning at the altar of Jesse Cole, the owner, the founder of the Savannah Bananas, who I believe is the modern day Walt Disney, who I believe is having a bigger impact on sport than any single individual right now. He is the man that is fighting back against the old white guy mentality that we have in sport. He is the man that exemplifies sport is fun. If you've never watched a Savannah Bananas game, go on to YouTube and find them. They're there. The best part is they put the full hour warm-up there because they have a minimum of 50 different entertainment things that happen before their game starts. I don't believe they are for everybody. I don't believe that all sports can go this way, but I do believe that they should be having a bigger impact on teams, particularly in Canada. We are, for some reason, we just were hesitant to get involved in entertainment.
Yep.
Last night in Vegas, you could tell there was entertainment going on. And I think the guys here do a great job. I just don't think the mandate. I went to Edmonton before Christmas, saw my first Oiler game in many, many years, and it was just like, this is it? Like, you're in a brand new building, this is it? But when you can throw 97 over the boards, that's entertainment enough, right? True. So I think, Vegas, Nashville, all these places, but the Savannah Bananas are different. And I want to just share this with you. Are you on TikTok?
No.
Okay. This is the LinkedIn tweet here, or the text of it. They have 1 billion views on their TikTok account, 100 million likes on their TikTok account, They have 4.2 million followers of their TikTok account. Up until last year, they were in a Coastal Wooden Bat League, college league, played 48 games.
Oh, wow.
They're not even single A baseball. That's where we're talking about. The New York Yankees have 1 million TikTok followers. The LA Dodgers have 798,000 TikTok followers. The Calgary Flames have 95,000 TikTok followers. This minor pro baseball team has 4.2 million followers. And that graphic up there, you talk about social media and the impact that it has on our lives. His lessons were start before you're ready. You don't hear that in business school, do you? No. Be willing to experiment. You can't be risk adverse. Quantity leads to quality. If I hear, we can't send that out, we can't send it. We're sending people to they'll stop following this, unfollow us. If we burden them, quantity will lead to quality. Serve over sell.
Yeah.
Serve your fans. Tell them what you're doing. Show them what you're doing. Tell them why they should be part of it. They'll come, they'll buy. I thought this was such an incredible thing when you can take a small little upstart baseball team. They've been in business since 2016 and sold out every single game since.
Wow.
And now they are the Harlem Globetrotters of baseball. They've taken themselves out. They travel. They tour around. They're playing Major League Baseball parks. They're playing small parks. They're all over North America. They've created another team called the Party Animals. They have a dancing umpire. The fans are in this. I'm absolutely.
Are they coming to Calgary? That's what I want.
That's why I'm starting this today. I'm starting the drum beat to bring the Savannah Bananas to Okotoks. I want them to play out
Would you play the banana song when they?
I will play many songs, and that's another thing we got to get to. Yes, Banana Phone. We would play Banana Phone. That's what we play, Banana Phone. I just want people to understand. This is a guy that was told he couldn't do it. Now. Different scenario, Perry. These players, some of them have gone on, started there, and are in the major leagues. But now they're starting to bring, because now they're not a college team anymore. They're starting to bring in former major leaguers. They had spaceman Bill Lee pitching for him last year at 75.
That's pretty cool.
He had a heart attack in a game, too. That's a legit story.
Hey, that doesn't happen every day.
No. But they've broken the rules, and they're risk adverse, and they don't have players. This isn't about winning. This is about fun.
Right.
And if you haven't seen them, please seek them out. 1 billion views. Yes, 1 billion. Billion. This show needs a theme, too. We were 1 week in. We don't have a theme. We're going to work on that.
Okay.
So, all righty. That's it. First 3 are in the books.
That was fun.
Thank you.
Ripped by.
Yeah, it did.
And I miss Eric because I was excited. I thought this is as close as I'm going to get to seeing him.
We'll get that figured out, and we'll get you back on one of his visits and everything like that. Yeah. Coming up on Monday, Adam Seaborn from Playmaker Capital and Ryan Pike, managing editor of Flames Nation, Calgary in Colorado. Tomorrow night, right now, 1 point back of the Avs, actually, for the second wild card spot. And then the Flames are home next week for a couple against Boston and Toronto before the trade deadline. The trade deadline 1 week away from today. Perry, always a pleasure. Tyler, thanks so much for your help. For you guys, it's nice to be back. We will see you. We'll see you next week. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.